Father, the sleeper has awakened!
What's up, YouTube? This is ArtisanMc, and this time I'm going to talk about the panel that just concluded with BGS, Rom Wills, and Cousin T Talk. And the panel was about Octane hierarchy encompassed in the Insecure show. Now, I'm not watching Insecure this season. I haven't seen a episode of Insecure this season. I have listened to some of BGS's videos on the topic and heard some of Rom's feedback, and I like the interplay between the two of them, which is good because they see certain things the same as well as having their own distinct insights, which is what I look for from people of that ilk that think and analyze and have a perspective. They actually give their perspective, and you can tell the difference between their two trains of thought or schools of thought. But this recording is not about that. This is about the conversation that was had. Now, I'm not as familiar with Cousin T Talk. I've heard a lot about him from Rom Wills and from BGS, but I've never actually heard him, you know, on a panel or live or whatever. So getting a feel for him and his depth of knowledge and his intellect was really, you know, fascinating for me. I mean, I'm one who likes my intellectual button pushed, you know, my intellectual pickle tickled. And I was getting that this time through a vehicle of the show, but at the same time, that vehicle of the Insecure show led to some other places that were really important, I would say, for me and men, and specifically black men in general. The topics that they touched on that really stuck with me and really resonated with me comes down to my own, you know, personal philosophies on dealing with women, life in general, and how you should grow and what your purpose or mission should be as a man in general. Now, for every man, his purpose is different, you know, but I think I can agree with all of these gentlemen that were on this panel in saying that the hardest part is finding that purpose. The hardest part is finding that purpose and being there, you know. As I think Grinch mentioned it earlier this week on his panel, that from the Matrix, Morpheus' line to Neo was, there's a difference between knowing the path and walking the path. And that's pretty much what it is in terms of a man finding his mission. You could be doing it the whole time. You could be. It's probably close to you. But you don't know that is your purpose. You may not even know it. You may not even realize it. To use another movie analogy, I'd say Unbreakable. The whole time that the character David Dunn was living and stuff, he had abilities. He kind of knew it and kind of forgot it. But innately, he moved towards his purpose, which was to protect people, which was to help. And through some other means, that an understanding of that purpose awakened within him and brought him back to understanding what his purpose was. And it was only when it was reflected off of somebody else's purpose, that character being Elijah, where his purpose was counter to his own, and that's how he understood his purpose. And to round it back to the BGS conversation, the panel, that was what they mentioned in terms of men dealing with women, understanding that women are not necessarily children. Studying children will get you really a lot closer to understanding women. That you have to understand that she reflects something about yourself. She reflects you. She gives you access to a world that you may not have access to at all. And it can be as simple as being able to be in touch with your emotions and understand how to manage that shit and marry it with the logic of a man. Because they may not have that. You mirror something with them, which is the logic to take that emotion and harness it and how to best direct it without feeling it all. And they mirror the object of being able to feel it all, but not knowing how to direct it. Okay, so it was a really powerful panel. I was in the chat and listening the whole time. I was making breakfast and drinking my coffee and just really shaking my head with how much it was resonating and how much knowledge and information was being kicked out to everybody listening. I was wishing there were more people there, personally. Of course, there was an asshole in the chat, which happens usually with this kind of situation. You're having a really good intellectual conversation, and some chick-thinking guy wants to jump up and have the spotlight shined on him to be contrarian to whatever's being said on the panel. And I like how BGS dealt with it and pushed it aside and carried on, because too many times in our society, a real conversation gets derailed with a completely asinine point and person. And it serves to be the chaos or the feminine energy that is lacking in that space to disrupt and cause chaos. That's exactly what it was to me. So I was glad that it did not derail the conversation, because after dismissing that person and ignoring their childish, hand-waving, foghorn blowing antics, the conversation actually got a lot more deeper. It got a lot more in depth on the interplay between the male and the female and the balance. And I would say this is credit to BGS being the intellectual snob he is, but the geek that he actually is as well. He brought the conversation back to a point of being able to relate it to the common guy, which is interjecting the understanding of Star Wars into the mix of understanding what balance is between the male and a female energies in a person. And I thought that was actually genius. It actually hit on one of the points why I love the Star Wars universe so much, and really hold to what the Force, or what it is that it is a natural force in the universe, and it is about balance. It will maintain its own balance, but you have both. And his understanding of it was, yes, Sith are more chaotic in their nature because they revel and draw their power from their emotions. Their whole point of contention, in some senses, can be boiled down to they will draw on their emotions and let it drive them, which is in fact a kind of feminine trait. But Jedis will not dwell on their emotions. They will control their emotions and think through the problem. That's why they seem to be more clever, which is a masculine phase. This is why a lot of things in our society, as they pointed to in this conversation, seem to be going off the rails, because In my opinion, society is way too much rooted right now in feminine energy, which is chaos. It's not about order. It's all about stepping into a situation and disrupting it as much as possible and trying to change it to something else, even though you have no understanding of what you're trying to change it into or how to change it into what you want it to. You're just disrupting it. Like the person running through the chat room saying, "You're wrong, you're wrong." Same shit. Chaotic energy trying to disrupt a structured flow. If you look at our country right now, what are people protesting about? What did they find to protest about during a global pandemic? Getting out the house and going to beaches and going back to work. This is the same thing that they complain about before the pandemic. Going to work and not wanting to deal with all this shit. That's chaos. That's chaotic energy needing a release in the face of destruction, in a sense, and actually hurting yourself. That's it. So the panel itself, even though the vehicle for it was the Insecure show, it touched a lot of points on that road of going through that show and delving into that show and delving into the characters and delving into the mind state behind those characters and what social underpinnings that is and how that relates at large. It was a very deep intellectual conversation that I fucking enjoyed. I mean, I enjoyed it so much that I had to record something about it. You know? So if you get a chance, check out that panel with BGS, Rom Wills, and Cousin Tito. And it's Octanes and Hierarchy on BGS's channel. If I remember how to do it, I'll put a link in the description of this video. But salute to the Master Teacher on pulling this together. I knew he was going to try to do it, but it was better than I had hoped for, and it got away from the show. And it was a good thing that it did, that the show was a backdrop. It was just the entry fee into getting into this conversation, and it was a great conversation. So salute to him. Salute to Rom Wills and Cousin T-Taw. I already listened to Rom Wills and already a sub of his, but I will find Cousin T-Taw and listen to more of what he has to say because I like the brother's standpoint. I will pick up his book. It says Scorpio on the front of it, so I definitely have to pick it up. I already downloaded my sample, so I can go ahead and give it a perusal. But thank you to you brothers for doing this panel. I personally really appreciate it and wanted to put that out there. So, like, share, and subscribe. This has just been me in that multidimensional space and just another dimension or facet of ArtisanMc. Catch you guys next time. Peace.